Thank you for the introduction, and not sure about the experience bit. I'll talk probably less intelligently from what you heard thus far. I'll basically tell a story of my career thus far, and while my focus is relatively broad right now, I'll focus on marketing technology. And just by a show of hand, do you think, how much money do companies spend on marketing? Is it like globally, over 100 billion, over 1 trillion, over 10 trillion? Where do we think it is?
We spend trillion.
Billion? Right. So 2024, overall marketing spend crossed $1 trillion. Now, that's a big number. We've seen CMOs now being part of the board. We see more prominence given to marketing and brand, and the value of brand that drives through the product, through to revenue. So whenever a CMO gets, pretty much all my bosses thus far have been CMOs, the questions that they get asked is, please prove why we still need you. That's the existential question that a CMO needs to keep answering at every quarterly business reviews to remain relevant. Now, for better or for worse, sometimes we make stuff up, and I'll make stuff up today, and sometimes there's some tangible information and insight that drives those decision making. Most of us in the room here are technologists, so if we can empirically quantify where that $1 trillion gets spent and what revenue it is driving, that then tells the board that, hey, there's value behind this investment, let's reinvest, and that gets into a positive cycle. Otherwise, what I've seen, how many of you guys have heard of Monster Jobs? Probably people who are as old as me would have heard of Monster Jobs, right? Monster Jobs, one of the first, if not the first job board out there. Spent 5 years out there. Monsters used to spend around $250,000 in marketing every year from mid-15 through to 2020 till it was acquired. It used to do Super Bowl ads in the 90s. It did fantastic editorial that won awards at Cannes Festival, etc. But when it came down to selling Monster, Randstad, who was the company who acquired Monster, basically looked at the hard KPIs. What's the revenue coming in? How many job seekers are visiting your website, so on and so forth. So it came down to numbers. One of the fun facts about Monster was everybody loved the branding around it. There was a coziness around it. But it's very difficult to quantify a dollar value behind coziness, right? You can't have a coziness index. I wish one day maybe AI, if we are artificially intelligent enough, we might be able to come up with a coziness index. But till such time, we rely on technology. There are more than 15,000, I looked up yesterday, more than 15,000 MarTech solution or marketing technology solutions out there. As somebody who partners with marketing and other parts of the organization, identifying the right set of solutions is key. Now, of course, you're not going to have 15,000 vendors out there. A company that I work for now, StoneX, has got 5,000 employees, so that'll be 3 vendors per employee. That is just not sustainable. So trying to find the right set of tools and technology to answer these marketing questions is key. Some random examples, some names you've heard of, some might be new. If you want to track web analytics, the classic tool is Google Analytics or Adobe. Either you are a Google shop or an Adobe shop. If you have a very fancy marketing team who loves their data and technology, they will force you to use Adobe because that gives you near real-time clickstream data. Great, costs you millions. Google, you can go as low as a free version, or it gives you enough information to drive decision making. So it really depends on the KPIs you're solving for or the business outcomes you're trying to meet. I think there's Mixpanel out there for app tracking. I used Mixpanel back in 2017. I look at Mixpanel today, it's not really innovated much. It's gone through a Kodak moment. There's a company called AppsFlyer, which I didn't put on the list here, that has innovated a lot. So it really comes down to what tools you choose, the combination of tools you choose. There's no right or wrong answer for this. Sorry. I get haunted by this guy. Back in 2012, when I started in marketing properly, MarTech properly, this is over 100 years old. 50% of stuff I just don't know. You just got to trust me in delivering the right value for the business. You've got a total dollar amount you spent on marketing, be it, let's say, 500 million for a, if your company is worth 20, 25 times that, that's a typical ratio of revenue to marketing spend. I'll be able to quantify $250,000 for that. I will not be able to justify 100%. Again, I don't have a way to measure coziness. I don't have a measure to quantify certain things. There are, metrics like recall and other stuff, but when you come to a board meeting, I can't say my brand is recalled by 30% of my target audience. That's just not going to fly. It's, how much money are they making? However, if Toblerone cuts the size of its chocolate bar, it was not a measured quantity ahead of time. It was pure product decision to reduce cost. There was a huge uproar around why did Toblerone reduce the size of its chocolate bar? The value of brand is often, or the brand equity is often not quantifiable, and we should not force ourselves to quantify that. At least that's what I think. Y'all may disagree. So, end of the day, we're all data people, right? So, you got good data and bad data. My colleague's daughter has got a funny meme, which I tried to put in, but I thought that'd be sharing too much PII here. But basically, she says, bad data is better than me, and she is naughty. So it is very important we recognize good quality data, limit our data sets to, that we use to analyze. Otherwise, we will start, especially in the world of Gen AI, where, and the previous panel spoke about, there's power in the hands of the CMOs and the CFOs and the C-whatever-os that we have today, right? They can quickly go and ask ChatGPT, please tell me how to solve world hunger. World hunger is still a real issue. They haven't been able to solve it. So in order for us to drive intelligent analysis, intelligent behavior, we need to ensure that we are collecting the right data, is the right data set that we are collecting. We're using the right models. I was on a call this morning with one of our data scientists, and she's been tasked to do propensity to churn. She's used this really fancy model. The mathematics goes beyond my comprehension, and she's come up with a very strong F1 score. Now, if you do a simple regression, that F1 score is down by 3 or 4 percentage points. Often people, or if you ask technologists to choose the right model, they will try to go for perfection rather than understanding, is 85% good enough for the business problem we are solving? So that modeling piece is quite important. Then you got to start speaking business language. We can't tell people we are using for market mix modeling, so a model that is used to allocate percentage of marketing spend to different channels. How much you're going to give digital, how much you're going to give brand, so on and so forth. The best model is a Gaussian methodology. Now, you're not going to go and tell the marketing team, hey, we've used a Gaussian methodology to understand your market mix model, and this is how the econometric modeling works. They ain't going to give proverbial, right? So it's important we are able to talk business to the CFOs and the CMOs and their teams. And then as we go on, we need to optimize, right? So we are not going to keep on building for the sake of building or create business problem for the sake of business problem. We need to focus our attention where we make money or save cost. Because at the end of the day, what matters for a business, especially an evil financial firm that I represent today, is bottom line and bottom line is nurtured by keeping customers for longer, ensuring the decisions that we are making is in tune with what our customers demand and want from us, be it internal customers or external customers. So there you go, technology. All right. So I'm sure everybody's heard the world of cookies and the way we track everybody down. One of the evil ideas I had was to send everybody an email ahead of this session today and then basically track you for the next few days and tell you what you're up to. That would be breach of privacy, right? Unless you give me consent. And this changes by geography. We are a global firm, and most of the companies I've worked in are global firms. So the way we collect, store, process our data is very important and needs to be in compliance with privacy. And there's a trade-off, especially when you're talking to marketing people. They want to retarget the hell out of people. If you have seen an ad, heaven forbid, if there were this lovely cookie monster around to protect consumers, people will be targeted to death to their part. And for better or for worse, various countries, various regulatory bodies have decided to take different approaches on this. So our data, our modeling, our output to teams who use our information needs to be nuanced based on the regulation that's available in those markets. I don't know, I'm not going to debate whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, right? It is a thing that we have to follow. Now, you see Google. Google is moving from a more deterministic model to a more probabilistic model, right? For anybody who's done web analytics in the past, everybody used to track website hits, right? My website has got like 1 million hits and look how great we are. That's mid-90s. And as the world of www grew and we had loads and loads of traffic coming to the website and people like Google started to monetize that traffic, it was very important for them to be deterministic around who is looking at what so they can charge the companies putting those adverts relevant amount of marketing dollars. All of that is changing, especially EU taking the lead on this, and then you've got a few states here in the US also changing their law. So our data, our modeling needs to become more mature. So this thing is going to stay and it's not going to go away. So in summary, what I tell myself most of the time, and I fail at doing this most of the time. Sometimes I'm good, depending on the coffee I've had. If it is good Colombian coffee, I try and keep it simple most of the time, because I've spent 9 years at universities developing models and working on data and technology. It's very difficult for me, and as it is for most of our teams that we work with, to get away from a beautiful mathematical equation. Having said that, it doesn't necessarily generate more revenue or reduce enough cost for the business to justify that. So more often than not, we've got to keep things simple. And I've got a lovely colleague in Des Moines. We call her Mother Wanda. She keeps on reminding us that every time I say, hey, can we experiment on this one? And if you're not failing fast enough, I know one of the gentlemen said, experiment but fail fast, learn from it, move on. If we are not failing fast or failing enough, we're not trying hard enough. So we got to keep things simple. And with that, I will give you some time back. Any questions? Well, that was simple. It's good. All right, thank you. Thanks a lot.